write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know.
That was the great sounds of Watts with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. EZ BlueZ, you are better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
Here's the thing. Today is New Year's Eve. We are about to celebrate coming into something new. And after these past 2 years of restrictions and confinement and being stuck in houses and staring upon four walls, you need to reinvent yourself. And the perfect person to talk about that reinvention took this time when everyone else was sitting in their own hurt, took this time and grew and created a brand that is amazing, that is approachable, that makes sure she does not take from opportunities of other people. She makes sure that she shares. That is a key thing because that speaks of the human being. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands together. Now, again, it's New Year's, so you shouldn't be driving anyway because you're probably still drunk from last night and you're going to get even more drunk right now. So hopefully you're just sitting at home, you don't have to work, and you're just chilling. So put the bottle down, put your hands together for the absolutely amazing, someone that I am honored to call friend, someone that I can actually, when I'm having a situation, I can hit up through the messenger and she responds with love and joy. Put your hands together for the amazing Zulynette. How are you?
I'm swell.
Nice.
I'm swell and overwhelmed in really good ways that I brought on to myself, and which is the best. Yeah, so I'm great. I'm happy to be here with y'all again. It's so good to see y'all.
It's great to see you too. You always have a great energy about yourself, Zulynette.
Thanks. Oh. It's because of death.
That's how we're going to start this off. Okay. Where do we go from here? Oh my God.
Well, look. There's a real spot on there, and I want to sit on that for a second because honestly, there is that reality that you are born just to die. The minute you are given life, the countdown clock ticks away until you pass. And I say all the time, on a gravestone you see dates, but it's a matter of what you make of the dash between the dates that actually is your life. So yeah, I can totally feel what you were saying there, Zulynette. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, a point of being hooked on phonics.
Okay.
The Z is pronounced like an S. So y'all.
Okay. Oh, I did not know that.
It's all good. That. We're all learning together. I'm more concerned about people saying all three syllables more than like that. But since we're here and we're pals.
But considering I've hit the syllables because I remind myself constantly,
I appreciate that.
Don't pull a Preston. I remind myself on a regular.
Wow. Get it out now.
We're all still a little hungover from partying last night on the eve before New Year's Eve. So, this is the real show. But no, this is what's really, really important, and this is what I want people to understand. You in your brand itself, this is who you are. You don't change anything for any type of aspect. You are now living 100% in your truth, and you have that freedom so that you can come on a show like this and we can joke around and we can tease each other, but it's out of love and it's out of respect, and from there, art can continue to grow. I feel that that's extremely important for people to know, because those that do take themselves too seriously, and look, especially from marginalized communities, it is extremely, extremely easy to start taking yourself too seriously. And it can be more damaging.
Yeah, because we have this idea of we have this idea fed to us of what success looks like and who you're supposed to look like, which then means who you're supposed to act like. And so all of that is just seeped in patriarchy and misogyny. You are supposed to be a rich, white, Christian, straight, cisgendered dude, basically, in order to be successful. So like, depending on people's proximity to that, that's what we think is successful, is to act like, fake it till you make it, which is silly. But anyway, yeah, and that can be extremely harmful. And it's just disingenuous. Like, I don't want to be somebody that like takes my work, which most of the time brings me joy, and turn it into like this serious thing of like how it should fit into a business model, and you need to make an LLC and get incorporated, and like when you go to meetings, like wear the suit and, you know, don't crack jokes, and like, no, I want to be myself. That's part of the reason why I stopped working for somebody else, is because I want to be myself, and I want to reclaim myself from like from top to bottom, from being essentially the CEO of my own business all the way down to like being the janitor of my own business as well. Like, I'm all those things. And so I think there's also something empowering about the fact that because I'm all the things in my business, there's nobody that's going to tell me nothing about how I am supposed to come into a room. And if I can't come into the room and be my full self, I don't want to be in the room, and I don't have to be in the room. I don't need the room. I'm going to go make my own room. I've already been making my own rooms. So what are we doing?
Well, it's interesting because there is that whole stigma, and coming from a sales background that I did come through. And when I say sales, I was a carny. You know, you have this type of atmosphere where it's a matter of making the sale, but they will teach you a technique is to make the person laugh. Because if you can make somebody laugh, then they bring down their guard, and then you can get to their wallet faster. But now when you look at it from a big corporate aspect, they're constantly telling you to take that sense of humor out of it. You have to be professional. You have to fit in this little box. So they literally are sabotaging you. And this is what a lot of people don't seem to understand. If you do not fit a certain criteria, they are going to set you up to fail, because they do not want you to take their piece of the pie. And that is the reality. They tell you conflicting things. They tell you you cannot be funny, but the more that you are yourself, the more sales you're going to make.
Be yourself, but not like that.
Yeah, be yourself, but not you yourself. Be the me yourself.
Yeah, and be the you I'm presenting you to. Exactly. And it's really interesting, and it's such an amazing pitfall. I'm in the process actually of reading the man they told me I had to be. I'm mistitling it because, you know, I'm tired. We all got drunk last night. You know, New Year's. But, you know, in those said on record, I'm sober as heck, and I think to put like a quick plug in here, I think it's important, especially for queer people and for BIPOC people, to see more sober folks. And so I'm letting y'all know I did not get twisted last night, and I don't plan on getting twisted in the future, and that you can also be a sober person and have a grand old time, and that's okay too. So we're putting that down. Well,
and again, that is extremely important as well, because a lot of people will use that, and it's an amazing defense mechanism, because I can easily say those type of things and get through the conversation as per point A, point B. I can use that instead of owning up to a mistake or owning up to a fault. You can then use that as an aspect, and it's really important. You are actually the first person to pick up on that. I do that on purpose to see as kind of like a psychological experiment. I use this show as a sociological experiment to figure out what the heck is going on up here.
I'd like to let you know, as somebody with 10 years of research under their belt, I didn't consent into this, and so this is very unethical, but I hear you.
Ethics is a social contract, and a social construct is ridiculous. To be honest with you, you never get true change with ethics. We know that.
Jesus. Oh my. I was actually thinking a lot about this came up a couple of weeks ago for me in terms of thinking back on like Pride Month and all the companies that start targeting the queer community and the BIPOC community and you know, especially thinking about like liquor companies and thinking about how like socially acceptable, I guess, like smoking weed has become and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's hard. The weed thing is like complicated, especially for like communities of color. Like, who is still like in jail because of this? Who is still like for having a baggie on them or something like that? Like for ridiculous stuff. So there's like this weird relationship with that, and then like even more so like how socially acceptable it is to like drink or to get drunk, and like especially during the pandemic, like alcohol usage has like risen because people are at home and people want to cope, which is understandable. But like going back to Pride Month, it's like, why can't I go to any Pride event that isn't also encouraging us as queer people to like get drunk? With like, along with like all the complexities of what it means to be queer in this world. And it's still not being easy, but making it seem like it's always a party, and like that's the only way to party is for us to like get involved with substances, and that's hard to take. And I think especially for younger queer folks, I just want to let them know like they don't have to do it that way. They don't have to cope that way. They don't have to party that way. They don't have to have fun that way. If you do, God bless. Be safe. Be well. But I don't know. You don't need to drink rocket fuel to have a good time.
No, it's extremely true, and I really I love that you opened up that door, because obviously I have no right to open that door. I can talk about it once the door is open, but you know, people like me have been telling people who look like me have been telling people how to feel for way too long. People that look like me honestly need to shut up. And I try to, you know, I'll sit at the table if y'all let me sit at the table. And, you know, if every once in a while you ask me to pass the butter or something, I will do that. You know, but it's very true. Butter's important. But what really you have to look at is, I remember, you know, me being a little bit older than everyone else. I was there for the grunge explosion. And when it first started, everyone was wearing their Z Cavariccis and their skid, brightly colored pants. And then Smells Like Teen Spirit dropped. And the whole society changed. But I knew it was a broken system when the runways, you know, Kate Moss came out in flannel. And they started to take on these traits of, you know, more of the non-mainstream aspect of it. And as we continue to grow and evolve as a society as a whole, from several of the marginalized communities, what is it like now to see these big industries take that month and pander to try to increase sales? Oh yeah, no, we'll go there. I love uncomfortable conversations.
It's not uncomfortable at all. It's just stupid and frustrating. There's nothing uncomfortable about it. It's just aggravating. It's aggravating that our lives still don't matter for the rest of the year. That it's just so blatant. Also, as a side note, I'm not a fan of rainbow in general as an aesthetic. Behold. So, but it's the same thing for oh man, for like anything, for was it September or October? It was September. No, was it October? Anyway, for like Domestic Violence Awareness Month, for like Suicide Awareness Month. It's like companies that want to make a buck off of you by attaching their name to a cause or to an identity, but only for that amount of time. It's disgusting, quite frankly. And it's like and even what I'm about to say next is like complicated and nuanced, but like we do talk with our dollars. So it's like, what companies are you supporting when they pretend to be supporting you? And what are they doing for the rest of the year? Are they supporting you for the rest of the year? Is supporting communities that you're a part of their mission statement? Who are they donating to? What grassroots organizations are they giving money to? Are they part of mutual aid? Do they only give to nonprofits? And we know how problematic nonprofits are. Like, so it's only, the only discomfort in it is just how like inhumane it is, and just how gross it is that it's about $1 at the end of the day.
And for those people who don't seem to understand what we are talking about, because it is a little bit outside of the spectrum, you know, of regular people thinking. Like business people, we have these conversations so much. And business people, when you sit down with a publicist or you sit down with someone that's going to help you with your marketing, they literally tell you, hey, you should do A, B, and C. Look, I'm in a, I'm in a group, Shame Penguin. We donate a ton, but we don't publicize it, because it's not a matter of throwing it on there to get that extra X, Y, and Z. It is a matter of taking what we were able to do and giving back, and that is a heck of a lot more important. Are there certain things that we publicize for? Yeah, but we're like, for example, we're going to have the CD release party, and we're incorporating a drag show. But we're doing that because those two worlds need to sit together. Those two worlds need to sit down. The drag community needs to see a bunch of, cis white men saying, hey, not only this, but we want to open for you. We want to take this event that is supposed to be all about us and make it about you, because you guys need an extra platform to go at. We don't care. Do what you got to do. Have as much fun as humanly possible. And let's just have fun together. More people need to just be able to say, hey, we're going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're going to throw it together into a pot, because, that was the illusion of what the American dream was supposed to be, right? How many times were we all raised, and I'm sure it was spoken a lot more to resound to people that look like me a lot more, but hey, we're a melting pot. But yet no one wants to melt together. And they tell you not to melt together. So if we cannot be a melting pot to make this amazing stew, and where nothing, if you've had a really good stew, you can't really taste any individual ingredient, because all the ingredients have been cooked for so long together, they begin to have the taste and the flavor of the other ingredients put in. And that is where we try to be. I
mostly agree with that. But I think some ingredients, if the ingredient is telling you it wants to just be by itself, the ingredient should be left alone. Let's come together. Good caveat. Some people, not saying you, but there's there are some folks that are like, against your will, I want us to come together. And it's like, well, actually, given how historically that's worked out for some people, I'd rather not. I'm good. I'll pass. No thanks. And that's okay. So if folks, if the drag community was like, you know what, actually we're good, we'll take your money and do our own thing, and cis white dudes can go hang out over there, that's okay too. You can support communities without like demanding that you be part of it. That's like some white savior complex thing sometimes. Like I'm only doing my part if I'm there and I can do the photo op and I can take credit and I can, and it's like, no, some communities need to be left alone, and some communities need your resources, and then for you to still leave them alone. And that's okay.
Well, and that is something that is a huge thing, because a lot of people feel that once they give their resource, they're entitled to give their opinion. And that's not true. Your resource is your resource. Your dollar is your dollar. Your dollar does not buy you 35 seconds of conversation. It buys you what you went in there for. And that is the reality of it. And there are a lot of people who, especially again, a lot of people who look like me, who, you know, get into that aspect and they fall into that white savior thing. And I only do this because there's people watching at home, but they fall into the white savior aspect where it's not a matter of accepting, it's a matter of forcing your own vision.
Speaking of and force you to listen to this show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Elm City Made, who is dancing really great right now. EZ Blues is in the building. I got my great friend, Zulynette Morales, with us on Behind the Brand for our New Year's Eve edition. EZ Blues, go right ahead. Talk to me.
Well, you know, that's a key thing is you know, the people who look like me, the palm-colored people, as we like to talk about, you know, they want their vision to still be put out there, and it's not a matter of it's a matter of vision. Mm-hmm. And you have to know that there are certain. Look, I have been blessed, and I will continue to love the fact that I get to sit at different tables. Awesome. I'm blessed with that. But I also know when to shut the heck up. I know when to grieve. You know, I can feel people's pain. You know, that's the wonderful thing about being emotive, you know, or an empath. You know, I get to feel that. But I also know that there's nothing I can do. And it stinks. And being raised in a society of toxic masculinity, and that's really, if we break it down. I mean, I grew up in the Schwarzenegger film era where, you know, you had to get to the chopper, and, you know, you watched in First Blood, Rambo got shot and he took a needle and a thread and he sewed up his arm and he continued to go through, and you were programmed that was who you had to be. That was what was acceptable, and anything beyond that, you're a failure. And it bred this whole aspect of, you look like this, you're in control every single aspect. Your vision is more important because of the way that you look. You know, you're going to leap further because of this. And, you know, and then when you don't meet up on those aspects, when you have those points in time where you're failing financially or you're going through these struggles, well, it can't be your fault because you're given all of the goal, you know, you're given all these tools to go forward. Mm-hmm. So it has to then be someone else's fault because you can't own that yourself, because then you're vulnerable. And if you show any bit of vulnerability, you have lost and you are not a true man. Mm-hmm. And this is something that we really need to work on and move forward to deprogram. And I'm going to say it's programming because that's what it is. You know, once we can really show that it is okay to have moments of vulnerability and it doesn't devalue you as a human being, then I think we're going to move forward a lot better. And when I say we, I do mean the palm-colored people.
Yeah, we are, all of us are conditioned to think that that vulnerability and bravery are on a spectrum, and really they are exactly the same thing. I'm gonna repeat that for the people in the back. Bravery and vulnerability are the exact same thing. My neighbors got quiet. Anyway, so because it's like we have this BS idea that like of fearlessness there is no such thing as fearlessness in the way that there's no such thing as perfection. It just doesn't exist. I don't know why we have those words in our vocabulary. They're problematic. So anyways, like if you think about your heroes, if you think about any animes you've watched, if you think about any movies you've watched, like your heroes are being vulnerable. Nobody is like, that would be a boring storyline and plot line if they were like, I got it from like beginning to end. Why am I even watching this? What you're seeing is somebody develop as a person and eventually reach a point where they are like either broken down or breaking down, or they need to like open up to somebody else or be vulnerable with somebody else. And it's like, that's where bravery resides. It's hand in hand with vulnerability because they are the same thing. There is no way for you to be brave if you aren't being vulnerable. That's just not how that works. we have this idea that being stoic and emotionless is what it means to be a man, is what it means to be in control. And it's like, really, all that does is break you down at the end of the day, because I'm sorry, but you have feelings. Even sociopaths had pets. So there's a squish somewhere in there, and it's okay. Embrace your inner squish, and you'll be the better for it. I promise you. I was gonna say real quick, Preston, you quiet. What's up?
I mean, I'm listening. I mean, I don't want to interrupt. If I say something, I don't want to like ruin the whole energy. I mean, I'm just
no. Bring your energy into it. You can't ruin an energy by increasing your by adding your energy.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the issues you're talking about, Zulynette. I mean, I can't talk about those issues. Only you can. You know, only your voice can. What can I
talk about? Toxic masculinity, though.
Like, I can't. You know, drop my knowledge. This is your knowledge. What you go through. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's good to know about that, and I love the fact that you're talking about all this. It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those situations where it's just good to be a fly on the wall. You know what I mean? I don't want to interrupt the whole energy. That's all. You know, I love to be a part of it. I love both of you. You know, but that's where I'm at right now. It's not
Thank you for telling me where you're at right now. I appreciate your vulnerability.
Well played. Well played. I like that.
That's it, man.
Check.
That's it. But since you want to hear my great voice, Zulynette, let me just put a little info in this broadcast. Talk to me about all the great work you did this year. Talk to me about all the great work you did with all these amazing children in Connecticut. How you inspired those minds like you always do. So great. Talk to me.
So I've been out here working, getting contracted to work at this delightful theater called Carriage House Theater.
Awesome.
It's owned by Heartbeat Ensemble here in Hartford. And we do an after-school program. It's called the Youth Play Institute, and they develop, from beginning to end, they develop a play that is around some sort of social justice issue. It's theater for change, so it's some sort of social justice issue that pertains to them, and they interview folks. They have folks come in and do presentations around that issue, whatever it may be. They worked on women's autonomy, actually. Funny story about that. Pause that.
Talk to me. I'm all
so, they all got interviewed, right? They were told, hey, you know, these are the ideas that we have about what the topic can be about. What do y'all think? Most of them basically decided on women's autonomy. We go through orientation. There's a group of like maybe 12 of them, and they are all between the ages of 15 to 20. And I wrote up on the board women's autonomy. And I said as a joke, this is not to be confused with women's anatomy. And a lot of them said, oh. And I said, y'all, did you think the program was about to be about women's anatomy? And too many of them said, yeah, we did. And I was like, and you didn't say anything? Y'all didn't think that might be weird as an internship to do a play about women's anatomy? They're like, I don't know, I was gonna get paid. I'm like, oh, Jesus. So, yeah. But that always goes well. They always come up with like a really cool play.
Awesome.
And it's always a really cool process to see them having conversations kind of like these in person. So talking about, you know, there's masculine identifying folks in the groups. So they're talking about femme issues and listening to a lot of the femme identifying folks in the group that are talking about their reality and like learning and questioning and sometimes saying problematic stuff, but also like being held in like a relationship of accountability with their peers. And that's always beautiful to see. So that's cool. And also they always end up with like a really dope play at the end of it. We invite community in to see it, to support them, to sort of cheer them on and all that good stuff and facilitate dialogue around it. So that's one thing.
One.
That's one thing. Been getting invited to speak at colleges, to perform, facilitate workshops. Most recently, I facilitated a workshop with immigrant domestic violence survivors. They were invited from the house that they are staying at. And that was really beautiful. They came, and I didn't know that a number of them were going to bring their children. So I didn't curse, although they were like, it's cool. And I was like, no, I'm not going to be the one responsible for that. So, but it was beautiful. A lot of them talked, and it was in English and Spanish. So it was this feeling of like of community, and sometimes translating, sometimes not, and just letting the thing be what it is. And also, so those things, and then of course, my annual storytelling show called A Little Bit of Death. Yeah, so this, I have to speak about it in the past. This was year 6.
Well, I mean, when we speak about death, we would like to speak about it in the past. You know?
I speak about it on like the timeline, like past, present, and future, because 2022 is going to be year number 7 for A Little Bit of Death.
Right.
So, yeah, the lineup for A Little Bit of Death Part 6 is, was crazy in the best of ways. The show was held at Theater Works in downtown Hartford. I had actually won funding, like $10K for A Little Bit of Death. So I was really excited about that, because I love paying people. I love paying people in my community, from like photographers to caterers when it's safe, to the storytellers, because I know what it's like to go up on stage and walk away with $0.
Oh yeah.
Or to prepare for something in terms of a performance and find out that I'm basically helping to pay somebody's light bill, but they can't give me a plate of food. So I try to ensure whenever I can that I'm putting money in people's pockets. So that was really, I was really grateful that we got funding this year, although I make it happen every year regardless. So, yeah. So A Little Bit of Death. Those are the things that have been happening over this last year. Yeah.
Now, yeah, no, for the listener at home that has not been privy to the past 6 years of getting to witness what that is, can you tell them a little bit about the concept of A Little Bit of Death? Because a lot of people are gonna be like, I don't necessarily want to do that, because those words together scare me, and because we're terrified. Like mortality is a terrifying thing. I think So let's get into
it. Took the question right out of my head. He was gonna exact same thing.
There you go.
I was thinking about it as I said it. I was like, people don't know what I'm talking about. So A Little Bit of Death is an annual storytelling show that I host every November. It is that I host, produce, and direct every November. I created it in 2015 after I read a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. If you've not read it, please read it. It essentially talks about the importance of myth, fairy tales, and stories in the lives of women in particular, but I would suggest that anybody read it. And how those stories impact our lives and our development, our spiritual development as like human beings. But in it, she introduced death as a woman, which I had never been privy to before. I always saw death as like the Grim Reaper, referred to as he. And then also she talked about death as being a process, as something that we can get involved in, as something that we should invite into our lives to do, because we should be bringing death to our lives for like things that no longer serve us, for relationships that are no longer good for us, for defense mechanisms that maybe at one time were useful but aren't anymore, for just making space for new things. So I fell in love with that. And as soon as I read the book, I was like, I should make a show around this, because partly because I was inspired by that. And then also because I had never spoken publicly about, I'd been performing at that point for like 5 years, poetry and spoken word. And I'd never shared anything that had to do with my own suicidal ideation. So my own relationship with death. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to challenge myself. This is one of those things that I feel like needs to get out, that needs to die, because I'm not there anymore. And so I made the show, and I was like, I want my peoples to be in it. I want to invite the folks that I know, and I just want to see what happens. And I'm going to name it A Little Bit of Death, because it's only a little bit. You don't got to be scared. It's not a lot. It's just a little bit. So it's only a little bit. So the first show, actually, what's wild is I never get over the fact that the first show was held in New Britain at the CCSU Community Center. And I've heard that they've renovated it since, but when I got it, that joint was janky. And the reason, and I quote, the reason that they let me have like donated the space to me to use it for that one night was, and I quote, "We don't use it anyway, so you can have it."
Wow.
And I was like, bet, I'll do it. This was the first, I want to say this was the first production I'd ever done, that I'd ever curated. And I was like, I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to do a thing in a space. And yeah, like everything was out of pocket. And if you look at old photos, the stage background, stage is in air quotes, like a mug. The stage was basically Dollar Tree balloons and a black tablecloth that I sort of tried to drape like a curtain, shiny as heck. So it was beautiful. But I showcased art. Again, my two best friends were a part of it, and they shared their writing because they're brilliant writers. So they also did some spoken word. I shared my pieces. I had friends that came through, and somebody like volunteered to be a photographer for it. Other friends of mine were vending their stuff that they like were handmade stuff. I had my cousin be like my door person. And the place was packed. And after the show, somebody had told me, this fella, he was like, I'd never heard somebody talk about suicidal ideation, and I had been through that, and I'd never told anybody about that. And so you talking about it, like, it did something for me. And I was like, this is something. Whatever this is something, and it needs to grow from here. This can't be it. So since then, I've done it every year, and every year it's gotten progressively bigger, and we've gotten more funding for it. So to have done it this past year at TheaterWorks, and to receive that sort of funding for it, and to be able to go from, like, again, Dollar Tree decorations, no shade to Dollar Tree, they be coming through, but to be going from like Dollar Tree decorations to putting hundreds of dollars in people's pockets to step up on stage for like 15 minutes, that makes my heart soar, because I really believe in the message of A Little Bit of Death and what it stands for. It's about centering BIPOC people. It's about centering queer voices, and it's about centering our grief and talking about it in our own way, because even our deaths don't belong to us. Our deaths are sensationalized. Our deaths are politicized. Our deaths are used. Like, we don't even get to own that. And it's like, this is a reclamation of that, of talking about transformation and growth, but also talking about the literal death in our communities, and having a space for that, to hold each other in that.
No, that's absolutely amazing, and it's a sobering topic, and it's one that needs to be addressed as much as possible. I can merely speak for what I can speak for, but there is a feeling, such feeling of alone when you hit a wall of depression. And to know that somebody else had those feelings and was able to walk out of those feelings is very empowering. And we just talked about how fearlessness doesn't necessarily exist, but it was in your vulnerability that you were able to be fearless, and from that has grown this amazing thing. And it's incredible to see the fruits of it. To go again from the Dollar Tree tablecloth to 10K of funding, doing the same exact thing, and knowing you the way that we know you, you didn't compromise your principles to do it, and that's huge. Like, that's really the person listening at home. I hope they pull over the car and they take out that pen and the piece of paper, because this whole interview has been about being as true to yourself as humanly possible.
This interview on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Prestige, Easy Blues, behind the brand. Zulynette Morales, smiling, looking all great like she does always. Easy. Continue with that inspiration, sir. Go right ahead.
The best double Dutch player in the entire world, Prestige, right there. Just wait. You actually saw, like, go back, rewind the video. You saw him lean in like he was about to go through. He was waiting for that Miss Mary, Mac. You know what I mean? He was waiting for it. I saw it. It was good. It was on point. I loved it. But it's really important that people understand that you are actually successful by being yourself. If no one takes anything else away from this.
Like, if you're pulled over and you're writing this down, please write in all caps. It's also really hard, because there are some things that look shiny and look easy and look good and might be good. But if it's about compromising who you are or what you're representing, if it's compromising on your values, it's not worth it. It's really not in the long run. And then it might be something that you're gonna have to undo later on. So it's like you might as well like fail forward being yourself and learning forward being yourself and being successful in being yourself. It just makes things a lot easier. And it's gonna be hard. All that all together. Also, I love that you told them to pull over, because you said that the last time we talked, and I'm like, I think if they know I'm gonna be on, they should just park.
Yeah, but
y'all should just park.
well, that's the thing. Honestly,
you're gonna be late.
Yeah, most times people spending their lunch hour with us, they should realize they should be in a general spot. But there's a lot of people who want to run to the car. Maybe they're getting that. Again, we don't condone. We don't say anything. Maybe they're getting that cigarette in that they couldn't get in the office, and they're listening in the car. And then they got that dude beeping because they want that spot and they don't want to feel bad, so they got to drive around the block a couple times. Like, there's a whole bunch of different ways we got to look at it.
Easy. I feel like you've been through some things.
Two tree things. Possibly, maybe, hypothetically.
So that's been something that's been happening every year, and that's certainly one of the things that are like that I consider like this is my baby. So nothing. The only compromising I would do on anything like that is just like how to make it better for my community. So how do I make it more accessible, or who else can I bring in to be a part of it in terms of storytellers, in terms of caterers, in terms of photographers, like everybody that's involved. How can I make sure that it's serving community?
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Man, I love it. No,
Zulynette. What will happen in 2022? What will happen in 2022 for you?
So in 2022, what will happen?
What will happen?
We're already on it. A little bit of Death Part 7 is going to happen in November.
Definitely.
New prints are coming out. New artwork is coming out. That'll be available on Zulynette.com. And I am also working on book number 2. Yeah, I think I can announce the title. I think I've settled on a title now. So my first book, if you don't know, by the way, it's called Building a Powerhouse, available on Zulynette.com. And book number 2 is called Seeing in the Dark. Yeah, Seeing in the Dark. So that'll be coming out in 2022. Artwork, a little bit of death, and to complement is a better way to say it. To complement a little bit of death, I am actually working on getting a little bit of life off the ground. So a little bit of life will include people that have already been to a little bit of death and have already spoken and can kind of get to, because it's a process. Everybody that has been part of the show has said it's a process to dig for these things and share these stories, and that it's been like a moment of release, or at least been a process of like that grieving and letting go. And so I want to make a space now to talk about what happens on the other side. Not that it's a finish line, but like what happens when you get through some sort of grieving. And so I said a little bit of death is, making the space. So a little bit of life is going to be about, so what's growing there now. So yeah, that's what's coming in 2022. Along with y'all, obviously, I'm speaking to the people at home, along with y'all, obviously, like booking me to facilitate, to do workshops. Y'all gonna fly me out across the nation and around the world. You're gonna ask me to speak on issues of like feminism, queerness, empowerment, and all around bad. Can I say but in the other word, or no? That's tricky. Okay, great. In terms of being one of the baddest mother effers you've ever seen,
Damn.
Like that.
I can talk about all those things. And so all of that will also be sprinkled in 2022.
You can fully say BAMF. You can fully say BAMF.
BAMF. Okay, BAMF. And so
BAMF.
yeah, y'all will be also booking the BAMF,
There you go. There you go.
One of those situations, if you know what BAMF means.
Right.
And if you don't know, Google it.
Say on the rest of your radio. If you know,
your Google.
you know. But to the people who are just being introduced to Zulynette for the very first time on this platform, on this broadcast, she does not disappoint. She really does not disappoint whatsoever. There was an event myself and Easy Blues and a couple other people had. It was at what theater was that in New Haven? Easy Blues.
Oh, first of all, it was in Westville. Second of all, it was Lyric Hall.
Yes.
The amazing venue with no parking.
With no parking, but we're not going to put that place on blast. We're not going to do it.
No.
But she stole the show. She
Totally.
was the real commander of the room, and she needed no microphone. A lot of microphones were there, but she needed no microphone out there. Her voice and her energy just commanded the whole crowd. And that was in the very first 10 seconds. The very first 10 seconds, you were glued to her. No lie, my witness is my co-host, Mr. EZ Blues. He's a witness to this, and he saw it, witness in her eyes, and she's bashful, and she's trying to be embarrassed. She's really playing. She knows.
I'm backing up.
Telling the truth. She knows I'm telling the truth. She commanded the whole entire room, and it was very inspirational. It was very meaningful of what she was doing for her performance. I think it was a good 20 plus minutes of learning and very intelligent, meaningful conversation. Easy. I see the light bulb on top of your head.
Oh, no. What I really love about the entire situation is to see the performer you were when this was really just more of the infant style and what you were growing into, to the entity you have become, where you have really taken the reins and have run with it. And a lot of people see that hard work that we talked about earlier, and they'll run from it, and you seem to run towards it. And we need more people to start running towards that, because that's really where change can happen.
Yeah.
and to see as you're running towards it, you did not necessarily have to run towards it and bring the rest of the marginalized community with you. You could have just run towards it, cashed in, cashed out, and been good. You have that type of presence. You have a star-like quality. And I'm sure you have some people whispering in your ear, but like, if you just do A, B, and C, it'll be like this, and you got it. Sure, I'm there. I understand. I've seen the same people. I've seen the same people, but you have focused upon what you want to say. You take as much time developing the content as you do the words. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And it's been an honor to watch your growth, and to see the BAMF that I only got a glimpse of in Lyric Hall with the bad parking.
Oh, thank y'all so much for that. I have no response whatsoever besides thank you.
Ooh.
My heart. Yum, feelings. Yay.
Yay.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Appreciate you. And we want other people to appreciate you as well, too. We hope this platform, we hope this broadcast reaches some more demographics, reaches some more people who are introducing you for the very first time. But just give people another reminder of where to reach you, how you want to be booked, and all that great stuff. This is the time at the end of the broadcast where you give all your shameless plugs. So this time right now, at the very end of this broadcast, is yours. Go right ahead, Zulynette.
Fantastic. So again, my name is Zulynette. You may call me Zulynette. You can find me on the gram. My name on there is @the_Zulynette. That's spelled ZULYNETTE. In fact, if you go do your Googles and you just put ZULYNETTE, I should pop up. Yeah. You can support me. You can support me by becoming a patron on my Patreon, where I post exclusive content. I let y'all know ahead of time when something's coming out, including prints, merchandise, all that good stuff. You can just buy me a coffee if you want to. Go to Buy Me a Coffee, look up Zulynette, and just get me coffee.
You need to get on that. You need to get on that. You definitely need to get on that. I mean, we stealing that idea.
Sorry, I misinterpreted you.
To give me a coffee.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Sorry, Zulynette, but that's I gotta pick
that
idea. I'm definitely doing it.
Well,
way to colonize that idea there, bud.
My consultation fee is you buying me a coffee, so get on that. Thanks.
Who can say no?
And lastly, if you want to support me, you can actually listen to my podcast. It's called The Creative Alchemist.
Yes.
It's available on all major streaming platforms. You can become a monthly supporter of that podcast. And on it, I interview other creatives about their process, what it's like trying to be an entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur. And I also occasionally give y'all tips and tricks and things that I've learned through my own journey, because it's been a minute and we've learned a lot of things. So that's The Creative Alchemist. Besides that, just come through, say hi. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. Cool.
Zulynette, it's always a great time with you. That's all I gotta say. Thank you for being a part of this New Year's Eve edition on Behind the Brand on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Blues. Thank you.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending more songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let this last.